Oh man. What's going on, Bradley17? Today is going to be an interesting stream. I was just on Craigslist about a week ago or so. Hi, Funtime channel. I was just on Craigslist about a week ago, and I came across this one ad that basically these people, or this man, he wanted $300 or $400 for a lot of, like, it looked like 2 computers at the time. I'm doing good, Bradley17. How are you doing? It looked like it was about, it looked like it was only 2. There were some boxes, accessories, and other stuff. And he said, I messaged him and he said that someone else had made an offer and he was coming out to check out the computers today, which was a couple days ago. And then he said the guy, since I made the offer first, that he wanted me to be able to have the final say in the offer, and if I wanted to make an offer, I could. So he said, how about $325? So that's $75 off the asking price. I said, I didn't really know if I wanted to at first. And then I realized what was actually in this this lot. As you can see right here, there's an Apple Macintosh SE30 box. No SE30 inside. There was actually a one second. There was actually a original plastic little container that the computer would have come in like, I think it was 1988. This one came out. I can check on the side and see the date. Where'd it go? 4 megabytes of RAM. That is great. It was, let's see. I don't know where the date would be. I think it was 1988 that the SE30 came out. This was the first Macintosh with, I believe it was the first Macintosh with 1.44 megabyte 3.25 or 3.5 floppy disk capability. It was the first one with the over a megabyte of capability of storage. It's pretty cool. I never owned an SE30. I have an SE30 I have an SE upstairs, but I never owned an SE30. So I don't know. I thought this was pretty cool. Just having the box. The boxes are so obscure nowadays. You can't find SE30 boxes at all. Like, really. The next, I'll put this back in here real quick. The next computer I have to show you guys is, I was pretty surprised when I saw this one. An Apple II Plus. Now this, I don't know if you can tell how big it is. Here's my hand. So it's not like ginormous, but it's pretty large, to say the least. Oh, also in that box, there was an Apple keyboard box there, and I thought that was pretty cool. It has the original styrofoam inside, and the original documents. I forgot those were even in there. So that's pretty cool. This one is pretty much my favorite. One of my favorites. My first favorite is up there. I'll show you in a minute. But this is the Apple II Plus, 1979, I believe. And they discontinued in 1982, 3 or 4. I forget which one it was. But anyway, I have it all plugged in here. As you can see, we have a cassette in and out. That's how the cassettes would store your information. you could basically store all the information you could ever want on a cassette, and that was plenty of space for the time. Here's my video, the video out connection here. It goes up to my monitor, and there's the video in. The power cable is plugged in there. We're going to turn it on in 1 second. To answer your question, Funtime channel, this screen is actually very strange. The thing about this screen is, listen to it. It's like that stuff they put on those crappy children's folders, like that you get at Target. But, whoop, I have to get this to focus. What happened? There we go. So, yeah, this came out in 1979. So there wasn't much you could do in terms of like, there was pretty much no GUIs, no graphical user interface where you could actually maneuver around with a mouse. Mice were unheard of at this time for computers. Like, there was no such thing as a mouse. And if there was, it was just a concept. Like, people they weren't using them quite yet. So, if you know anything about programming on BASIC, which is called AppleSoft BASIC, it's basically a variant of Microsoft BASIC. I'm going to try to do this right. So you have to do lines in rows of 10. So let's say print hello world, end quote. And then 20, go to 10, and then run. We're going to see what will happen when I do this. Yay! That was programming in the day. You had to do a ton of work for nothing. I'm going to break this real quick. So this computer could do quite a lot, but you had to have the right resources for it. I do have two disk drives in the other room over there, but basically you could just play games, run software, and that was about it. Couldn't do too much else other than that. You could do what you told it to do. You could write some simple programs, and that's about it. So these computers had no soft shutdown button. You just flick the switch, and it's the end of it. Make sure to save your work, blah blah blah. This computer came with a Kensington System Saver, which I thought was pretty cool. It basically protects against like lightning strikes, blackouts, and all that good stuff. There you can see the features it has. Quiet cooling fan. This thing's actually quite loud. Front power switch, dual auxiliary outlets, as you can see there. It just clip onto the side there, and it would be like an extra little thing that you could use to save your computer in case a blackout happened. Now this is the one that I was so excited when I first saw this. Oh my god, I was like, I couldn't believe it was in this condition. This is, the one I'm about to show you is the Macintosh 128K from 1984. This was the first Macintosh to begin with. So it was basically the concept of a portable, small, and pretty budget-friendly computer, even though it was like $2,500 at the time. Here it is. Very, very good condition. It's supposed to be a little bit, like, have a yellow color. They hadn't come up with the platinum color scheme yet. But here's the Macintosh 128K. This is literally the first Macintosh, and on eBay, I see them at around the $1,500 to $2,000 to $2,500 mark. And for all of the computers I got in this lot, I would say I picked this up for about $100, which is, I know this alone is worth about $400 on its own. The keyboard's probably $150, the mouse is probably $80, the computer's probably, I don't even know. It's just crazy. I cannot believe I found this thing. Just look at the condition of this thing. It's like immaculate. It's incredible. I cannot believe that I found one in this good condition for this cheap. You'd have to search a lot around on eBay for something like this. I guarantee you would never find one in this good condition for a budget. Yes, Dad? My dad's calling me. So here's... Turn it on. Whoop. It would help to have it plugged in. I always forget to plug it in, and that's a big issue. Find the end. Original Apple Apple cable. Yeah, these things, JLG movies, these things are like so incredibly collectible. Like someday there will be no working Macintosh 128Ks. Like it's gonna happen eventually, but yeah, these things are like, I just find it so cool. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it on. The thing about this thing is it will not boot until I have a boot disk, because this thing does not have a hard drive. In 1984, computers had hard drives at the time. It was kind of a newer concept, but this does not have a hard drive, and you had to boot everything off a floppy disk, which was horrible and not that time friendly to do, but here it goes. Love that sound. It's gonna come up with the flashing floppy disk, and that's about all I can do for now. And also, the thing that sucks is this mouse will go up, down, up, down, up, down, but not sideways. So I'm gonna have to find a new one probably. This was discontinued, I believe, in 1985, I believe. They only sold it for about a year before the 512K came. 128K actually stands for 128 kilobytes of RAM. If you think how much your computer has, maybe 4, 8, 16, 32 gigabytes. This thing had 128 kilobytes, which is not even a megabyte, which a megabyte's not even a thousandth of a gigabyte. So just think about that. Put that into perspective. This thing could barely run the operating system and one other program at the same time before it would run out of memory. This thing, I think, had 68 kilobytes of memory, so it had like half of what this has, and that could barely do much. So if you think about it, it's just incredible. We've just come so far in terms of what we can do and how much we can do on computers. With this lot, I also got a printer, but the printer was in very poor condition. I'm thinking of cleaning it up, but I actually found a dead mouse inside of it, so yeah, that's gonna be a fun one to clean up. Yeah, this is, as you can see in there, it's trying to read floppy disk adapter for the FDS, aka NES of Japan. I think I've heard of that before. I'm not sure, but it sounds familiar to me. Yeah, the model number of this thing was M0001. Everything in this line with the computer has like the zeros in it. M0100. This, I believe, was, let's see, M0110, and then I forget what the external floppy drive is. M0130. Big surprise. Yeah, these things are very, very useful if you can find one for cheap with your Macintosh. It just plugs in the back here. Whoops. Just plugs in the back here with the little, it tells you exactly what goes where. But, Yeah, this was very user friendly at the time. Most computers at this time were just like command line based, and you couldn't do much other than run commands that you had to type in very specifically, or else you get a syntax error, you wouldn't be able to do much. This one was just like that. Like, you had to know what the heck you were doing. This had a GUI, which is, like I said, a graphical user interface that you could move your mouse around. This mouse is the first mouse that most people used, if they could afford it, but it was literally groundbreaking for the computer industry. It was just incredible for Apple, and they made much more than they anticipated, I'm sure. But yeah, the first computer to come out, oh man, I forget already. I would look it up, but this thing's a little too old for that, almost 40 years old. That is a good idea. Doesn't taste very good. Tastes like oil and skin cells. Breaking out the old school computer. Yeah. This is like heaven for me. When I first saw these, I was like, I had to pick them up. There's no way I was leaving those behind. The story, what happened was this guy, I thought he was going to be some like old creepy guy that just came up and got rid of them, took the money and left. But he was a pretty nice guy. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better experience buying these. Here's Microsoft Flight Simulator, totally unrelated to the Apple computers. But I thought this was pretty cool. This is the Flight Simulator from, I believe, 1991. There. Whoa. So that's Flight Simulator. That's pretty cool. These things were interesting, these floppy disks, because they couldn't hold, first of all, they couldn't hold very many files. Those are cool. For seriously, do you know what key switches are in that keyboard? You know what? I don't know what the key switches are, but I know they sound, they're pretty muddy. They're just these. They're pretty muddy sounding, but here's what they sound like. That one's not too different from this one. This one has a slight ping to it. But I'm going to take one of the keycaps off. Oh, maybe I can't. Don't know if you can. Another thing is, listen how silent this thing is. Not making one sound because of no fans. Yep, these things didn't have a fan in them. Not until the, I believe the SE was the first one with the fan. Yeah, they were some kind of weird, different kind of switch there. Very primitive even for the time, but what's the maximum data stored on a floppy disk? The old ones had like up to like anywhere from, it was in the hundreds of kilobytes. They went up to these ones went up to 400K, then 800K, and then 1.44 megabytes. But now they made ones that like zip disks that went up to I believe 100 megabytes in the late 90s, early 2000s. But most floppy disks you'll find around are 1.44 megabytes if they're from like your childhood or a little bit before you. But yeah, this was pretty much my find. I'm still kind of in shock about finding all this stuff. I've been using this a lot. The whole thing's almost empty. But yeah, I guess that pretty much concludes this live stream. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.